My wife and her family locked me out of our house during a snowstorm. They stood by the window laughing, watching me freeze and calling me a worthless idiot. I didn't say a word. I just walked away. 3 days later, I opened my inbox to 47. Desperate messages begging me to come back. You know that moment when you finally see the truth about your whole marriage? For me, it wasn't some text or lipstick on a shirt. It was watching my wife of 5 years high-five her brother while I stood outside in 15-degree weather begging to be let inside my own house. I'm 33, she's 31. We've been married just over 5 years. The first couple years were okay. Not amazing, but decent. Things really went downhill when her parents' lease ended and they moved in with us, just for a few weeks. That was a year and a half ago. Since then, it's been a slow descent into madness. It started small, her mom rearranging the kitchen without asking, her dad making annoying comments about our spending. Then, 3 months ago, her brother Autumn, 27, moved in after his roommate situation collapsed. Now 5 adults lived in our 3-bedroom home, and somehow I became the outsider in my own house. I tried talking to Eleanor. Every time it ended with tears, accusations, and the same line. But they're my family. Eventually, I gave up and started hiding in the garage or picking up extra shifts. I know it wasn't healthy, but it was survival. Last Thursday, things finally exploded. A massive snowstorm hit, the kind where they tell you to stay inside or risk dying. I had picked up a night shift, partly for the money, mostly to avoid their game night full of inside jokes. I was never part of. My shift ended at 11 p.m. The roads were horrible. It took me almost an hour to make it home. All the lights were on at the house, which was weird for midnight. I dragged myself through knee-deep snow to the front door. My key didn't work. Tried again. Nothing. I checked. Right house, right key. I knocked, waited, knocked harder. Finally, I saw movement through the frosted glass. The porch light came on, and there was Eleanor. I felt a wave of relief until I saw her face. She looked amused, not worried. I motioned for her to open the key. Duri. She shook her head. I was confused, so I called her. She picked up but didn't say anything. The door's locked and my key won't work, I said. Can you let me in? It's freezing out here. Yeah. About that, she said like it was nothing. We changed the locks today. You what? Why would you do that without telling me? Autumn thought it would be funny. I stared through the window, waiting for the joke to end. It didn't. Eleanor, it's 15 degrees and there's 2 feet of snow. Let me in. Then her brother appeared with a beer in hand, grinning like he was watching his favorite show. Sorry, bro, he shouted through the glass. No losers allowed tonight. Family only. I was frozen, shocked. I looked at Eleanor, hoping she'd shut him up and open the door. Instead, she laughed. Her parents joined in behind her, smirking. Her dad even raised his wine glass in a mock toast. Eleanor, I said, my voice shaking from the cold and fury. This isn't funny. Open the door now. Maybe go stay with one of your friends, she said like she was telling me to. Pick up some milk. We're having a family meeting about the house. I am family. I'm your husband. This is my house too. Autumn leaned toward the glass, fogging it with his breath. Freeze to death, worthless idiot, he said. Eleanor didn't flinch, didn't defend me. She just nodded and laughed. Then she high-fived him. I stood there for maybe 30 more seconds. My phone was at 2% battery, my car low on gas, and I was in the middle of the worst blizzard in decades. Something in me snapped, or maybe got fixed. I didn't yell, didn't bang on the door. I just turned, walked to my car, and drove off. My phone died before I could call anyone. The roads were nearly impassable. I somehow made it to a 24-hour diner with power and sat there all night drinking coffee, using their phone in the morning, to call my buddy Brandon. He told me to come over, no questions asked. I stayed at his place for 3 days, completely off the grid. No social media, no contact. I needed time to think. When I finally charged my phone Sunday night, there were 47 messages. That's not a joke. 47 texts, voicemails, DMs. The first few were angry. "Grow up, Atlas. Come home. You're being ridiculous." Then came the concern. "Where are you? Just tell us you're okay." Then panic. "Atlas, please, this isn't funny anymore." "My favorite?" Eleanor's mom. "We never thought you'd actually leave. Please come back so we can talk, as a family." The same family that locked me out in a deadly storm and laughed. I've always been the quiet one, the peacemaker, the guy who compromises. I let them take over my house for 1.5 years. But that night, something changed. Watching my wife laugh at me through the window, I texted her one line. "We need to talk. Meet me at Starbucks tomorrow at noon. Come alone." I spent the next 3 days figuring out what to say, what comes next, and realizing something huge. Revenge isn't served cold. It's served calculated. Update 1. First off, wow, I had no idea my last post would explode like that. My notifications were insane. Thank you for all the support. Reading your comments actually helped me feel like I wasn't crazy. A lot of you asked what happened at Starbucks and during those 3 days. Here's the update. When I walked away that night, my mind was blank except for one thing. Don't let them see me break. I sat in my car for 15 minutes with the heater on, gripping the wheel until my knuckles went white. I didn't cry or scream. I just sat there. The roads were brutal, cars and ditches everywhere. I found a 24-hour diner called Mel's, mostly empty except for 2 truckers and a waitress who looked over it. I ordered coffee and sat in a booth, just trying to understand what happened. My phone died around 1 a.m., which honestly was a relief. I didn't want to see anything from Eleanor or her family. I stayed there all night. The waitress, Josephine, total MVP, kept refilling my coffee for free. In the morning, I used their phone to call Brandon. We hadn't talked much since her family moved in. They hated him because he once called them out for dominating the conversation at my birthday dinner. But when I called, he didn't ask anything. Just said, "Come over. Door's unlocked. I'll make breakfast." While staying at Brandon's, I did 3 major things. 1, I got a new phone with a new number. Kept the old one off to save the battery and monitor messages. 2, I checked our joint bank account. Guess what? Almost empty. There was $370 left out of over $8,000. Eleanor had been slowly transferring money for months to another account. She moved nearly $7,800 total. 3, I went to the bank and accessed our safety deposit box, thankfully still untouched. I grabbed my birth certificate, car title, other essentials. Brandon was amazing through all this. He let me stay, listened, helped me figure things out. Even gave me clothes since I only had what I was wearing the night I got locked out. On day 2, I went to HR at work, not for pity, but to protect myself in case Eleanor or her family tried something. My manager, Thomas, was great. His sister went through something similar. He even told security to keep watch just in case. I also saw a financial advisor to talk about separating finances and protecting what little I had left. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth it. On day 3, I finally turned my old phone back on. And the messages. The first few were exactly what you'd expect. 9:43. Friday. When are you planning to come home? 11:27 a.m. Mom and Dad think you're being ridiculous? Autumn was just joking. 2:16 p.m. Atlas, this behavior. Eleanor's side of the family ever since the fallout, and she got herself invited to the next dinner. The plan? I'd show up unannounced, with Dorothy backing me up, and finally lay everything out on the table, literally and figuratively. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wanted closure. I wanted the truth in the open, no more hiding behind guilt trips or manipulation. So, last night, we did it. I walked into that dining room and, for the first time, I didn't feel like an outsider in my own life. The moment I stepped in, Eleanor's mom looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her dad went stiff. Autumn muttered something under his breath, and Eleanor just stared at her plate. I didn't yell. I didn't raise my voice. I calmly laid out what had happened: the money, the lies, the lockout, the video. And then Dorothy jumped in, called them out on decades of behavior, backed up every claim I made with her own receipts. There was shouting, denial, of course. Her dad tried to turn it around and say I was embarrassing myself. That's when Dorothy pulled out the letter they'd sent her years ago, basically blacklisting her from the family for not giving them money. It shut the whole room down. Dead silence. I left without waiting for dessert. But as I walked out, Eleanor followed me to the car. She said she finally saw it now, that her parents never really cared about what was best for her, only what they could get out of her. She apologized again, more sincerely this time, but I told her it was too late. I wished her well and drove off. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I've got my house back. My life is mine again. And for the first time in years, I don't feel like I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. The old Atlas is gone. What's left is someone who finally knows his worth and refuses to settle for less ever again. Some extended family members were also fed up with Eleanor's parents' manipulation, but too scared to speak up. So last Sunday, I showed up, unannounced at Eleanor's grandparents' house during their monthly dinner. Dorothy came along for moral support. The look on everyone's face when we walked in together was priceless. Eleanor's mom actually choked on her wine. Her dad turned pale and Autumn tried to leave, but his girlfriend, whom I'd always liked, made him stay. I didn't yell or cause a scene. I calmly laid everything out: the lockout, the stolen money, and years of manipulation. I even played the video of them laughing at me in the snow. Then Dorothy shared her story, which eerily mirrored mine. The extended family had no idea about any of this. Eleanor's grandparents were horrified. Her cousins were furiously texting, probably updating their group chat in real time. And her Uncle Robert actually stood up and said he'd faced similar treatment years ago but thought he was alone. One by one, family members began sharing their own stories of manipulation by Eleanor's parents. It was like watching dominoes fall, years of pent-up resentment pouring out. The best part? Autumn finally cracked under pressure and admitted the lockout was a deliberate move to push me away for good. His girlfriend dumped him on the spot and asked if she could get a ride home with Dorothy and me. We obviously said yes. Eleanor's parents tried to regain control. Her dad shouted for everyone to calm down and accused me of manipulating the situation, but no one bought it. Her mom tried blaming Eleanor for mishandling things, but that backfired spectacularly when Eleanor finally stood up to them. She told them she was done being their puppet and that she'd lost her marriage because of their manipulation. She even threw her phone at her dad and said she was blocking them all until they got professional help. I didn't stick around for the fallout. I said my piece, helped Dorothy reconnect with family members who actually cared, and left with my head held high. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, the divorce papers have been filed, and Eleanor didn't contest a thing. I've completely redesigned the house, new paint, new furniture arrangement, and even got a dog from the shelter, a chill pit mix named Banjo, who loves my recliner as much as I do. Eleanor's parents apparently left town to visit relatives, aka hide from the family shame, and Autumn got fired from his job for unrelated reasons. Karma, I guess. Dorothy and I have become good friends. She's been an incredible support throughout all this. I've reconnected with friends Eleanor's family pushed away. The weirdest part, Eleanor came by yesterday to pick up the last of her things. She seemed different, more herself, whatever that means. She told me she started therapy and moved in with her cousin temporarily. She apologized again, not to get me back, but because she genuinely meant it. For a split second, I wondered what might have been if she'd found her backbone years ago. But that moment passed quickly. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. It's been exactly 1 month since I stood freezing in that snowstorm, watching my wife laugh at me through a window. My life looks completely different now. Not perfect. My sink still leaks, and I still haven't mastered cooking. But it's mine again. I don't know what happens next, but for the first time in years, I'm actually excited to find out.